And China's top diplomat highlights multilateralism as the basic pathway for a new world order. As the Shanghai Cooperation Organization summit wraps up, Wang Yi says the SCO's global governance initiative is the summit's highlight, with bloc members all prepared to make sustained reforms. And more on that summit of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, CNA's Deborah Wong joins us live from Tianjin. Deborah, we heard a taster of what Wang Yi, China's top diplomat, said as the summit wrapped up. What else did he highlight in this closing speech?
So Chinese Foreign Minister Wang Yi and the SU Secretary General calling this summit a very fruitful one and the most productive one in SU's history. What they basically did was to highlight 8 major outcomes, including the SU development strategy that we expected it to come out this time round, because the last time was 10 years ago. So the SU development strategy is going to be charting the bloc's agenda for the next 10 years. We also saw that all members signed the joint declaration. Now, this is, after all, the largest summit in SU's history, and Wang Yi says the attendance allowed in-depth, engaging conversations to flow. Now, in emphasizing multilateralism and tackling terrorism, he also did reference the upcoming military parade in Beijing to mark 80 years since the end of World War II. And what he did was to call on nations, to stand on the right side of history, to learn from history and to cooperate. And he also mentioned that this is important because there is a rise of anti-globalism right now that has worsened government deficit. Have a listen.
当前世界进入新的动荡变革期，全球治理走到新的十字路口。习近平主席共同构建更加公正合理的全球治理体系，携手迈向人类命运共同体。
Deborah, this summit also chants for China's president, or rather China's foreign minister, launching President Xi Jinping's 4th global initiative. So this time is the Global Governance Initiative. What is it, and what's Beijing hoping to achieve launching this particular initiative?
So the Global Governance Initiative is essentially an international framework for all countries to work together for a fairer and more reasonable international system. Well, that is in Mr. Xi's definition. So under that, what we can expect is to see countries upholding sovereign equality, respecting international law, putting people first, upholding multilateralism, and be action-oriented in all the agreements that they've charted out. So what we're also hearing, I think one notable outcome that we're hearing from this summit is the launch of the SCO Development Bank. Well, not really a launch per se, but really kicking the process forward, because that was just an idea that was proposed over 10 years ago. It hasn't come to fruition. The process has not even started because Russia did not agree to it back then. But right now there is consensus and it's moving forward. So we could see some progress on that front in the next couple of years. And members also did approve the SCO development plan for the next 10 years. And under that, we see them agreeing to strengthen people-to-people exchanges, again, supporting multilateral trading system, as well as enhancing counter-terrorism activities. Now, the bloc will also be establishing cooperation platforms in energy, digital economy, as well as an AI center. But, beyond the picture of solidarity that we've seen on the wires footage of the different leaders shaking hands and even walking hand in hand at one point, we are also seeing a projection of power. I think especially among the 3 biggest economies in the SCO, China, Russia, and India, 3 nations that, of course, have borne the brunt of U.S. sanctions and tariffs of late. Wei Sue.
Oh, thanks. CNA's Deborah Wong, they're reporting live for us from Tianjin. And for more on this, we're joined by Professor Oliver Stuenkel. He's Senior Fellow, Democracy, Conflict and Governance Program from Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, and he speaks to us from Washington, D.C. Professor Stuenkel, lots of half references or direct references to pressure from Washington, specifically on tariffs as well. So when Xi Jinping spoke about India and China being able to work together, the dragon and the elephant being able to dance together, there was another elephant in the room that was the United States, bringing all these parties that had not agreed with each other in the past now to agree with each other.
Good evening. This is absolutely true. This is the first time in 7 years that Prime Minister Modi is in China. The dynamics at recent BRICS summits and the bilateral relationship has been quite tense. So this summit is an opportunity for China and India to project that they have options. India, in particular, has been quite shocked how the U.S. tariffs have undermined longstanding U.S. strategy to embrace India and to seek to utilize the partnership with India to balance growing Chinese influence in Asia. So this has created an opportunity, clearly, for the SCO and for China to project itself as a center of stability, of the projection of rules and norms, of predictable commercial and diplomatic relations. In that sense, it is capable of filling, to some extent, a vacuum that the United States has currently left behind, because it's precisely traditional U.S. allies, or partners, such as India, that have been most affected by this. And now the most interesting question, of course, will be to what extent this opportunity can be translated into tangible improvements in the relationship between major Asian powers.
And do you see that translation? Do you see at least the basic framework for that translation being delivered at this summit?
I think so. I mean, we're seeing similar dynamics not only at this particular summit, but also at other groupings such as BRICS, where countries are clearly seeking to hedge. They're seeking to diversify partnerships. We see very similar rhetoric and strategies in Brazil, in South Africa, in Indonesia, countries that have utilized new platforms, not to move away from the United States or move away from Europe, but clearly also to say we need as many options as we can. We need multi-alignment, and we depend on a functioning global governance system. I mean, countries, understand that without predictable trade rules, achieving development goals is going to be very difficult, because companies are just profoundly confused of what the tariff regime with Washington will be a month from now or 2 months from now. So I think in terms of and setting up the structure, there's a lot of potential. I think we'll probably see numerous significant and concrete steps, such as the resumption of flights between India and China, such as facilitated arrangements when it comes to the export of Chinese rare earths to India. And, these things also function kind of as a signal to private sector actors to say, there's a predictable relationship, being established, making it safer to make long-term investments. After all, for a company, it's absolutely crucial to understand what the diplomatic relationship will be in the future.
Professor Stuenkel, if a changeable U.S. has forced all its former key partners, or still current key partners, in fact, to rethink how much they can depend on the United States, the lesson to learn from there is not don't depend on the United States, but rather don't depend on anyone else. And that might, in fact, include China and Russia.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think there's a clear sense that countries around the world don't want to switch sides or in any way, or move from one sphere of influence into another. They seek autonomy through diversification, being capable of having, for example, redundant value chains, having a plan B, not depending militarily, commercially, or from an energy point of view on a single actor. So we're seeing a complete change of the way that countries conceive of the international system, in a way that they constantly also think about how can trouble in one particular trade relationship or one diplomatic relationship affect my core interests. And this is why so many countries are seeking to join these platforms. It will, of course, allow them to hedge better. At the same time, the more members you add to these groupings, the more difficult it will also become to find consensus. We have been seeing that over the past days, where, of course, the structural differences between India and China on many fronts don't really go away just because the United States is behaving erratically vis-a-vis, India and other traditional partners at this point. So, the key question is really whether the current window of opportunity that U.S. foreign policy ironically provides to these agreements and arrangements and groupings can be utilized and can be translated into tangible action.
Professor, you've mentioned BRICS. So this window of opportunity, the Shanghai Cooperation Organization can make better use of it if it looks to mistakes or missteps that might have been committed by BRICS, which is now that 10-member organization, which has, I think you've pointed out, suffered from sometimes a failure to identify vision, identity, and purpose as the grouping grows. Final question there. Can SCO learn from BRICS?
That's a really interesting question. And, I've been looking at BRICS for many years now. And I think maybe the lesson is to not focus on too many issues at the same time, focus really on what works and what really matters to countries. I think BRICS has expanded so much. We've had some years where there were almost 100 high-level meetings per year in numerous areas. Some of these, I think, are not exactly crucial. So I would say the big lesson is to focus all energy on key areas that matter most and really where tangible achievements beyond broad declarations can be achieved, because the potential, considering the changes the international system is undergoing, are absolutely significant. So that would be, I think, the lessons learned from BRICS.
Oh, thanks. Professor Oliver Stuenkel, Senior Fellow, Democracy, Conflict and Governance Program from Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. Thanks for joining us this evening.